Right now on Earwolf, Spanish Aki presents Welcome to the amazing Luis Guzman for an intimate conversation about his time as an actor and a social worker. For more, follow at Earwolf on social media. Happy listening.
Comedy bang bang, 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 comedy bang bang.
If woods and coulds were shants and cants, I'd walk on my hands and shit in my pants. Welcome to Comedy Bang Bang. Ooh, thank you to the Patty Cake Man for that wonderful catchphrase submission. Oh, the Patty Cake Man. I've been singing about him for years. Welcome to Comedy Bang Bang for another week, another edition. My name is Scott Aukerman. Very good to have you here during what is essentially the weirdest period of time in Comedy Bang Bang history, recording all of these remotely. With our various guests. We have an exciting show today. We have, a musician is here, also an internet personality, and we also have a writer will be here. And they're actually all here at the same time. For those of you who have been listening to the show for many years, there's a certain gentleman who has been on the show consistently throughout the 11 years that we have been doing the show. He is a writer. He is a raconteur, certainly. He's not a member of the Raconteurs. It's not Jack White. But he has a collection of poetry that, in fact, two collections of poetry, I believe, that are both sold wherever cowboy poetry is sold, which I really have no idea where that would be. He'll fill us in on this. He was a guest here just a few weeks ago, actually, and he's brought a couple of friends with him. And I must admit that I am recording this episode, it's safe to say, under duress. I had no idea that I would be doing this, and I got a mysterious message, a threatening message, which we'll talk about here when they're on the show. But please welcome to the show the host, co-host, and another person who has duties indeterminate upon the show of Bananas for Bonanza, a new Earwolf podcast. Please welcome Dalton Wilcox, Mutt Taylor, and Amy Sleeverson. Welcome to the show, guys.
Yeah! How's it going?
So nice to be on a show.
Mutt, were you shooting guns into the air? What exactly was that?
Yeah, I got a pair of 6 guns here. It was my daddy gave them to me, and they're kind
of.
So
you got 12 guns?
Yeah, I got a pair of 6 guns. It's a 6-pack of 6 shooters and 12 guns for 144 bullets or some shit like that. I don't know.
What a goddamn city slicker you are! I can't believe it. He says a couple of 6 shooters. You say 12 guns. Unbelievable. That's some city slicking right there.
I gotta say, I do like where he's heading with that.
I wouldn't mind having 12 guns on me right now.
12 guns pointed at you, or 12 guns on your person?
Either way, I'd take it either way, my friend. No, but it'd be fun to have 12 holsters on your belt, wouldn't it?
I guess so. I guess it could be like the on a clock it has 12 numbers on it, just around your waist, and you could call them out as you shot them. You could be like 3 o'clock. 6 o'clock.
Or like instead of chiming bells at 12 p.m., you shoot 12 times. I like this.
That's true. Or if your partner, who is describing where the bad guys are, say, you have someone on your 6, you could reach around to your 6 and then just fire that one.
You sure you're a city slicker?
I'm not sure, I guess. Look, my parents were simple country folk. So if that grandfathers me into being a country person, then I would love that.
Can I back up just a moment and help? Because your introduction
you're in your own domicile. You can back wherever you like.
No, I'm talking about conversationally. Because
conversationally, yes.
Between you and me, Scott, everybody know you and I know that it was very difficult for me to get a podcast picked up on the Earwolf Network, and it did involve various forms of coercion and threats against your life and the lives of people you love and your property. But I don't want that to be a part of.
I don't know which was worse: the threats against my life, people whom I love's lives or my property. I couldn't quite tell what the worst part of it was. I think when you threatened my swimming pool, you were gonna like the Joker put toxins inside of it or something like that.
And I had them ready to go. I had the car loaded up with various toxins to put in the pool, and I was going to put alligators in there too. Now the alligators would have died of the toxins, and that'd be a whole other problem. Now you got a bunch of dead alligators. But anyways, Scott, we got to cut all of this, and I instead
we're cutting
want
all of this.
All of it. I want you to talk about how excited you are, how lucky you were, and what a kind of a coup it is for you to have Bananas for Bonanza on Earwolf. Now, as for when it comes to Amy Sleeverson, she is a co-host. It's me, the podcast is me and Mutt Taylor and Amy Sleeverson every episode, and then we have a guest. And Amy Sleeverson is what would you say, a Christian entrepreneur. Right, Amy?
MLM. I couldn't afford to get into the starting package of Mary and Martha. It's $99. Who has that? And so I started making my own stuff.
Okay, so just I'm also going to back up conversationally. This is a lot like that movie Pulp Fiction, where we're playing with time a little bit. But have you ever seen that movie Pulp Fiction?
Hell no.
I mean, it takes place in a city, but there are guns in it, so...
Okay, then I've seen it. I've seen every movie with guns.
That takes place in a city?
It doesn't matter. The guns supersedes city. I don't like city, but if it has guns, I have to watch it.
Gun beats city in the rock, paper, scissors of Gun City, and what's the other one?
Voluptuousness.
Okay, so city beats voluptuousness, but voluptuousness beats gun.
Yeah, crazy, huh?
So you've seen every movie with voluptuous women in it as well?
That's absolutely right.
Okay, so I'm going to back up conversationally. Okay. So you don't want us to talk about the last threatening letter that you sent to me to make sure
not.
that I got you onto the show?
We have to craft a narrative around this, Scott, and the narrative is going to be more like, oh boy, I tried so hard to get Dalton Wilcox to agree to do a podcast, and he finally did, and thank goodness. And I want you to start over from the top with a whole new introduction.
A whole new introduction that doesn't talk about the letter that you sent to me with all the letters cut out from your poetry book, and I could tell it was from your poetry book because you use a very certain font in your poetry book, which I haven't really seen in other books.
Cowboy sans serif.
Right. Which basically like has little gun holsters on the M, you know, it has like two gun holsters on either I guess you call them sticks or
I don't think they call them sticks, but yes, every letter has a couple of gun holsters, even when, you know, like a capital I. It's hard to get two gun holsters on a capital I.
I is the only letter you can call a stick.
Right.
That's right.
It's stick before E except after C.
Okay, thank you very much. So we don't want to talk about that. You don't want to talk about
We're not talking about
You don't want to talk about the pictures that you included of my loved ones, which I still don't even know how you were able to take those. We're in the middle of a quarantine.
Right. Oh, I had to break quarantine several times to get these threats across. I don't want to talk about all the times that I sat in that one comfortable chair you have in your master bedroom and watched you guys sleep.
What?
I don't want to talk about, you know, the one comfortable chair you have with the footrests. You've just got the one. You got the bed, obviously, and the dressers and all, and then you got that one chair. I don't know what you need a chair there for. If that's for somebody over watching you while you're convalescing or something. I don't know why you'd have a chair, but it's comfortable, good enough to sit there all night and watch you guys sleep. I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah, you don't want to talk about that. That is bone chilling. What do I do when I sleep?
It's not a pretty picture. There were several times I was tempted to jump in to try and revive you.
It was a picture, though, because he did take pictures and he showed me.
Oh,
You talk,
Mm-hmm.
you say things.
you were there too?
Says,
Yeah, Amy told me.
yeah, you said at one point you had your hand, it was moving, and then you said, help!
My hand was moving. Was I gesturing for someone to come
you
help
were having
me?
a really, you were having a really important conversation, but we didn't know what it was. And then you said, help!
Oh, my God.
And then you went back to bed.
So if Dalton was sitting in the comfortable chair, Amy, where were you during this?
I was underneath the bed.
Okay, so you just were under the bed. How did you see the hand then?
Well, that's Dalton told me about it, and then I heard it.
Okay, so you believe everything that Dalton tells you?
Yes! He's one of my biggest
I've never told a
customers.
lie in my entire life.
You've never told a single lie?
I've
No.
never told a single lie in my 520 years on Earth.
I can confirm that. I can vouch for that.
Hold on. I'm going to back up conversationally even further.
Uh-huh.
520 years on Earth? This is something new. I don't think
Yeah.
we've talked about Dalton.
No, I don't think we have, but this is a new discovery of mine. I believe I have been alive for 520 years, but every 60 or 70 years or so, I blank slate and forget everything that has happened to me. It's just something I've begun, because I've begun to read about the history. And again, there's another thing. Earwolf doesn't want me to talk about monsters, so we're going to have to edit all this out. This is part of the new arrangement with the podcast. They said, don't talk about your monster hunting. So I'm happy to cut all this out. But I've been reading about the history of monsters and monster hunting, and reading about all them Draculas and all that business, and how far back all that goes, and realizing if anybody's been killing these in the past, it must have been me.
Okay, so you think you were born in roughly 1500, approximately 8 years after Columbus made his journey here to what turned out to be the United States?
That's what I believe. That's what I've come to believe, and I haven't what's the word, confirmed it scientifically, but I believe it's what I've come to believe.
You've come to believe it. Okay. And that's because you are, for those of you who have never heard Dalton on the show before, you are akin to a Van Helsing style monster hunter. Van Helsing, the movie style. I don't know whether that's lore in the actual Dracula canon.
I have no idea what you're talking about, but I am. And again, we have to cut all this out because the Earwolf doesn't want me to talk about it. They said specifically, don't talk about all your murdering, which is the wrong way to put it. I never murdered anybody. I have helpfully slaughtered monsters. But in addition to being our nation's foremost collector and chronicler of the wit and wisdom of the West, I am also plagued by vampires and mummies and Frankensteins and werewolves and so on. That's just a fact of my life. It's just something I have to deal with. That's part of my burden. And now I'm realizing that I think I have been gifted by the infinite. If I'm going to fight vampires, I'm going to live as long as they do. I believe I am going to live until all monsters are eradicated, and that's a deal with the universe made with me. But every 60 or 70 years or so, I forget everything. But I believe I've been slaughtering monsters since, as you say, 15-something.
That's how we started talking, because I sell a set of pillows that do the books of the Revelations, all 22 chapters, and I have one that says it's really cute, it's really beautiful material and well crafted from Thailand. There's a beast with 7 heads and 10 horns and 10 crowns on his horns and heads. His name's a blasphemy, emerges from the sea. And that's a neck pillow, and that's what Dalton said. He said, oh, I think I've killed that.
Okay, so this leads me to 3 questions, Dalton. Should I take them in order, or should I go out of sequence?
I'd like number 2 first, and then 3, and then if there's time, 1.
Okay, so number 2, chronologically, would be how many years do you remember at this point? And how many years, part B of this question is, how many years do you have left before you forget everything?
That's a great question. I would say my earliest memory as of now is about 9 years ago. And
You were on the show 11 years ago.
well, I don't remember that. I believe about 9 years ago is my earliest memory. And I believe before my memory is wiped clean again, I have about another 60 years.
Another 60 years. So we're in the nascent stages of your brain activity. I caught you 11 years ago at the tail end of of the culmination of all of your monster knowledge.
If you say so.
Okay, so chronologically then, question 3 would be, are you actually trying to eradicate all monsters, do you really want the last monster to die? Because then you would die and you would no longer be on this earth.
I hear you. Well, I hear you, and that is one of the conflicts that the universe has bestowed upon me, I suppose. But I do believe, yes, once I have eradicated all the monsters, I will be assumed bodily into heaven where I can, get laid a lot, whatever the hell it is.
How many virgins are you?
Brother, I have no interest in a virgin.
No, you like the whore of Babylon. She's in the Bible, Revelation 17. She's the mother of prostitutes and abominations of the earth, and kind of more his type.
Yeah, that's something that I can see you really getting into when you get up there.
Yep, that's the first person I'm going to look up when I get to heaven. I'm going to say, where's the whore of Babylon?
You could go right to the heavenly white pages and look her up, and then,
Yeah, well, just to save time, I'd say, is she listed under whore or Babylon? By the way, I just wanted to make clear to you, Amy. I met Amy in a chat room talking about Bonanza, and she was on there drawing all sorts of important connections between the Bible and Bonanza.
Oh, I see. Okay, so that's, Amy, how you got involved. You met in a Bonanza chat room.
So when you do your new introduction of us, you put that in there.
Okay, so should we do that right now? Should we go backward, or do I have time for question number one?
I think you have time.
Oh, okay. Chronologically, question number one. Do you think you were Van Helsing? One of the original monster hunters?
I don't know what is, but you're going to have to school me on Van Helsing.
Do you know who Hugh Jackman is, rather? First of all, let's talk about Hugh Jackman for a second. Can you really be an actor and have a stage name that's essentially Huge Jacked Man? I mean, that's really braggy, don't you think?
I've always thought it was Huge Ackman.
It might be. Well, we have no idea, but you do know who he is. You're familiar somewhat with his filmography.
Yeah, I've seen him on magazine covers.
Mutt, you must know. You've seen Van Helsing because there are guns in it.
Oh, of course. Yeah, he's got a couple of 6-shooters himself. So 12.
So do you think that Dalton might be Van Helsing? I mean,
I'll tell you what. I know you don't know who he is there, Dalton, but you could be worse things than Van Helsing. Now, this guy was a real badass, and I know he's from Germany by way of England or some shit, but he's basically a proto-cowboy. So there's something to find there.
Did he have the sign of the beast on him?
No, but he had a big hat, almost like a witch's hat.
You'd never catch me in a goddamn witch's hat.
Say again? Come back.
Who are you talking to?
Big good buddy. I did mention I'm on a CB, right?
You're on a CB radio right now?
Well, yeah. Now, I've been living in my Peterbilt big rig truck, so my office is like the cab, but I live in the trailer.
Okay, that's where you've been quarantining. So are you on the dirty side right now?
I'm on the dirty side, pickle parked in the shade, my friend. You know what I'm talking about.
Right.
Let me. I'm 10-10. Let me tell you something. I got all my walls are velour paintings. The entire ceiling of the trailer is a mirror, and the entire floor is a waterbed.
Dalton, thinking about the whole you were born in 1500 thing, it stands to reason that you are not originally from the West, that you migrated over here from Europe.
Ooh, those are fighting words.
What are you talking about, you son of a bitch?
I've just, 1492 is when Columbus came over. The first kind of white people, came over from, Columbus was from Italy, I believe. Unless you were literally like 8 years after he was over here, white people, had immediate sex and then birthed you. And I don't think anyone went over to the West for a long time.
That's what happened. He's a product of immediate sex.
Yeah.
Should that go in your bio? Or maybe a pull quote on the back of one of your books?
I'm going to put that in my bio today. Dalton Wilcox, the product of immediate sex, is a man of the West. Put it in as a clause in the opening sentence.
There's immaculate conception, virgin birth, and immediate sex. And that's how you know you're dealing with someone important.
That's how we know that Dalton might be the third coming of the Son of God.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Well, the second one was sometime in the 70s, and not a lot of people knew about it. but it had something to do with Michael Landon.
Michael Landon? Oh, really? The Sam's son himself from Little House on the Prairie. He was actually
Hello
Jesus?
and Bonanza.
Oh, I see. Oh, of course, Bonanza. They're bringing it all back. Well, okay. Speaking of bringing it all back, I feel like I should redo the introduction to this show. So, Engineer Ryan, do we have the theme song? Can we play that again?
Comedy bang bang, 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 comedy bang bang.
If woods and coulds were shants and cants, I'd walk on my hands and shit in my pants. Please welcome to Comedy Bang Bang. Ooh, I've never said please in that before. Please welcome to Comedy Bang Bang. Thank you to the Patty Cake Man for that wonderful catchphrase submission. And, the Patty Cake Man. I've been singing about him for years. Welcome to Comedy Bang Bang. My name is Scott Aukerman. I'm the host of Comedy Bang Bang, and we have a wonderful program for you today. We have the host and two co-hosts of an intriguing new program here on the Earwolf Comedy Podcast Network, Bananas for Bonanza, starring Michael Landon, Sam's son himself, from the Little House on the Prairie. We have the host, a writer who has been on the show several times before. We have a musician, and we have an internet personality. Please welcome to the show, and they are not here under duress. I'm not hosting this show under duress at all. I am, in fact, very pleased to have them on the show. Please welcome Dalton Wilcox, Mutt Taylor, and Amy Sleeverson. Hello, guys.
Why, thank you, Scott. That's a wonderful introduction.
The Ponderosa is considered by many Christians to be one of the second states of Israel.
The Ponderosa is, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that we're taking back geographically the area where Christ, the third Christ was born.
I see.
The second Christ, and then now Dalton might be the third.
Right. Let's go through the Christs. We have, of course, the original, the titular Christ himself, JC Superstar. Jesus.
He invented the whole game.
He started the game, and he almost finished it. But then he came back to life, went up there to heaven after 30 days or whatever it was. What was it? A week? 30 days? How long was he in that tomb?
3. It was 3.
3 days.
It was 3 days.
It's the rule of 3 in the Bible, just like comedy. 1, 2, and then the kicker.
So as soon as the kicker happened, he rolled back that stone, went up to heaven. Boy, I tell you, with the quarantine, we've almost been like doing 20 Jesuses. We've been under quarantine for like 60 days at this point.
Unbelievable. And it's particularly hard when you're completely ignoring the quarantine. To have to put up with people looking at you and talking about it.
Are you wearing a mask at least, Dalton?
Hell no. Not going to wear a mask. People will think I'm trying to rob a train.
Yes. So you had Jesus, then you have Michael Landon, and then you have what many consider to be the third coming of the Lord, or what do you?
The Lord.
Speaking of lords, why do people want a lord? That's such a weird word, isn't it? I mean, obviously we have lords like Lord Grantham on Downton Abbey. I don't know whether you've seen that, Dalton. I know that Mutt, you have, because there was a gun in one episode.
I've seen one episode. That's right.
Wait, you don't watch the entire series just for the one gun?
When it comes to episodic television, I am only responsible to watch those episodes in which a gun does appear or voluptuousness.
Well, yeah, Mutt, correct me if I'm mistaken, but didn't you punch into your DVR the word gun, and so it automatically records any show that has a gun?
That's right. I watched that episode with the gun, and then as far as voluptuous goes, it's far and few between on Downton Abbey, but I did watch that one episode where that lady fucks a Turk to death.
Oh, yeah.
You know the one?
Yeah, I think I do, yeah.
Yeah.
What about the ones where, like, they're changing out of their, Victorian clothes, and they're sort of in between outfits, and they're in, what constitutes as underwear back then is practically a full outfit for the rest of us.
It depends on whether or not they're in a whalebone corset, because that'll give you the shape of voluptuous. But you take them gals out of them, they're just basically just a straight up and down board. It's not voluptuous.
Or a cylinder.
Yeah, a cylinder.
Which is the shape of the candles that I have on sale in the 7 Deadly Sins.
They're like an hourglass without the little bottleneck part. Like if you just were going to have an hourglass that was good for less than a second the minute you turned it over and it all fell out.
Speaking of an hourglass, there must have been so many episodes of Days of Our Lives that you've seen. I mean, there are so many subplots with guns. Wasn't there a guy with a patch?
Yeah, Patch
over
and
his
Kayla.
eye?
Yeah. Oh, sure.
So you've seen all these.
Oh, yeah. There was one time they got trapped, I shit you not, in a Valentine's Day booby trap lair, and they had to escape. Boy, now that's fine daytime television I watched in the back of my truck.
I'm sorry, did you say an eye patch and a cape?
I don't know about a cape, but Patch, it was his name because he wore an eye patch.
Was his actual name, yeah. I suppose if there was another character that had a cape, his name would be Cape.
Man, that was a good show.
Do you think that is Cape Fear about a guy with a cape?
It's about a guy afraid of capes, so he doesn't have a cape. Decidedly. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Yeah. Now you've seen that obviously because of all the guns involved.
Sure, but it's really just a story about a guy who's cold all the time.
Right. Well, we are, of course, talking about Bananas for Bonanza, which is a podcast that debuted recently here on the Earwolf Network. Now, Dalton, we need to take a break if that's okay. But when we come back,
I don't think it is.
It's not okay. I mean, whatever you want to do, I'll do. Obviously, Dalton, because you're holding all the cards.
No. You're more than happy to. It's because you like me. All right, Scott. I'll tell you what. It's all right with me if we take a break.
We are going to come right back. We'll be discussing the show Bananas for Bonanza with its 3 personalities here. Come on back. We'll be right back with more Comedy Bang Bang after this. Comedy Bang Bang, we are back here with Dalton Wilcox from the podcast mini-series or maxi-series.
Nope. Maxi-series. We're going to do 431 episodes of this because there was 431 episodes of Bonanza, and unfortunately, that's all they made. Somehow, tragically, they stopped after only 431 episodes. But that's how many episodes of Bananas for Bonanza we're going to do.
Technically, though, it is a mini-series compared to this show because I've had 650 plus episodes, so it's miniature compared to that.
Well, but no, you're wrong, because here's the plan. We're going to do 1 episode of Bananas for Bonanza for every one of the 431 episodes of Bonanza. And then 1 of 2 things is going to happen. Either, number 1, most likely, we will have renewed interest in Bonanza to the degree that they begin producing new episodes, and we're going to devote new episodes of Bananas for Bonanza to the new episodes of Bonanza. Or if somehow that doesn't happen, we'll just go back to the beginning and we'll redo every episode.
Just start right over. Okay.
Yes,
who would be involved in the new Bonanza episodes? I mean, most of the protagonists or the actors who played the protagonists have passed on to that white place up in the clouds with the white pages.
Well, Scott, I haven't thought it through that far, but we could do it right here if you like. I mean, the only thing I've thought about is that, because it will be me and Mutt and Amy who have repopularized Bonanza. I wouldn't be surprised if they came to us and said, will you guys be in the new Bonanza? And I've said, look, I'm not asking for that, but I'd consider it.
I've been writing scripts for the new Bonanza show that's inevitably coming our way.
Oh, boy.
Really? Did you say Ivan Reitman scripts or just I've been writing scripts?
I've been writing scripts with Ivan Reitman.
What?
For the new Bonanza. Yeah.
He's involved?
Oh, yeah. We couldn't keep him away.
What about something like Bonanza: The Next Generation?
It's possible. Lauren Green has 3 children.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I forget what comedian it is that said Bonanza is essentially the story of a 50-year-old man and his 3 45-year-old sons.
Yeah, that's right. He was 8. He had immediate sex.
Lauren Green was 44 when they made the pilot of Bonanza, as a matter of fact, and that's just a testament to what an extraordinary actor he was and what an incredibly virile teenager Ben Cartwright must have been.
Do you think you could move on to another Lauren Green project like Battlestar Galactica, which in a lot of ways is the prequel to Bonanza?
We've talked about that very thing.
Have you really? Wow.
Yes, we have. We really have.
Because all of the spaceships are named after astrological signs, right? And they came down here and populated the Earth, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. It's a prequel series to Bonanza.
Wow. Okay, so you might move on to some of those episodes.
I'm trying to hope for it.
I've never seen Battlestar Galactica. I don't believe it takes place in the West, and that's a real deal breaker for me.
Right. It does have guns. I mean, the Cylons have guns, certainly, which is why I think that But you've seen it.
That's right. Yep, Cylons and the Colonials. Yep.
Space isn't real.
Space isn't real? What?
No.
What? Say more about that.
Well, it's not. It's someplace that they make up so that makes you think that, we have someplace to go, but we don't. This is it.
Is that the same case for Denver, the Mile High City? That doesn't exist?
No.
Whoa.
Oh, wow. I mean, that's in the West.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah.
I was in a sex race there.
Yeah.
You were in a what now?
A sex race.
What exactly is that?
Sex race?
You just try to have sex as quick as you can.
What was your time, by the way, in the time trials?
I did it in 14 seconds. And I came in 4th place.
Whoa. So does this mean you have to find someone and then have sex with them, or do you come in having found someone to have sex with?
A to Z. You have to locate, court, copulate, and get out.
So
ring the bell.
You did that in 14 seconds. Did you just turn to your left and whoever was there? I mean, obviously, this must have been someone who was in the competition as well.
It was an immediate connection, though. I don't want to discount that we did have something.
The only world you can create outside of yourself is through your hands with shadows and light and it on the wall.
Yeah, that's why the arc light, if you ever go to an arc light cinema, like there's one, I believe in Pasadena, Dalton, that you've been to.
No.
Oh, yeah, they got a good one in Pasadena.
Before the program starts, they have those hands making the hand shadows before the movie starts. And that's because the arc light is, from what I have heard in rumor, is one of the nexuses, especially the one in Pasadena, is one of the nexuses, or nexi, I'm not quite sure, of all of the dimensions in the world that one can traverse through.
Oh, you're saying the arc light in Pasadena is an interdimensional portal?
Sure, yeah, and that it's curators, anyone who works there, like that gentleman who wears all of the snakeskin from head to toe.
Oh, Cactus Tony?
Yeah, Cactus Tony, yeah. They are sort of the... your tour guides throughout the dimensions, from what I've heard.
Do you think this is where all the monsters are getting in?
Could be.
Oh, maybe that's where the monsters are coming in. Because I already told you, I think I told you, I went to see that movie, The Invisible Man, and that's where I saw it, was at the ArcLight in Pasadena, and I walked in there and the theater was full of Invisible Mans. Yeah. Just about every seat had an Invisible Man in it.
Yeah, and you got them all, which you collected them all and touched them all. So
I have not seen that movie.
You've not seen that, yeah. That one. I can't. I feel like there wasn't was there a gun in it? Yeah, one of the guy
right.
The guy she's staying with is a police officer.
Yeah, and doesn't the SWAT guys come later on, or she does?
Yeah. She picks up the gun in the rain, and yeah.
I haven't seen the original Claude Rains one as well.
Oh yeah. There weren't guns in that.
No.
I defy anyone to post a screenshot of the original Claude Rains Invisible Man with a gun in it. It just does not exist. It's like one of those Berenstein Bears kind of things.
But someone's just going to post a photo of just a gun and say that he's in it.
And that he's holding it?
Yeah.
And by the way, speaking of airplanes, the only airplane I've ever been impressed with is the Lisa Marie down there in Memphis. Graceland.
Is that related somehow to Michael Jackson? Is that kind of like the Lolita Express that Michael Jackson flew people on, or?
Well, it's funny that you bring that up because this is something that I know that Michael Jackson, he married the airplane. That's what he intended to do, but it was some kind of a paperwork snafu that he ended up married to a woman. He never had any interest in that.
Okay. Look, we need to take another break, if that's okay, Dalton.
Let me think about it. Yeah, it's all right.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to actually, I know we didn't do it this segment, but we're going to talk about the format of this Bananas for Bonanza show. And make sure that everyone listens to it, because that is why you guys are here and why I am so pleased to have you guys here. And then hopefully by the end of the show, I will receive perhaps some sort of assurance or assurances that myself, my loved ones, and my property will all be left alone.
Oh, that assurance is coming your way right after we wrap on episode 431 of Bananas for Bonanza.
Oh my God, no!
And it's conditional on where it goes from there.
Oh God. Okay. Well, look, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll have more Dalton Wilcox.
Cut that out.
Okay, we'll cut that out. Don't worry. More Mutt Taylor,
Brian,
more Amy Sleeverson.
Brian,
yes.
Edit that part out.
Okay, yeah. We'll be right back with more Comedy Bang Bang. Comedy Bang Bang, we are back here. We have the crew from Bananas for Bonanza, a maxi series podcast, but a fraction of the 431 plus episodes have been released at this point. So get in early on the ground floor, which is a great place to go walk into a house, in my opinion, the ground floor, and then you can go to wherever you like, the basement, the attic, floor 1, floor 2.
Houses should only have one level, in my opinion. Ranch-style house has got one level, and I don't recognize second stories and above. Got it?
Right. So townhouses, you're not a fan of.
No, I don't. If somebody tells me a house has a second story, I will not go up there.
Yeah.
I only like a ranch.
Well, also a townhouse. A town is kind of a city.
Yeah.
So, yeah, right there in the name is something that you don't like. But Mutt, you saw the movie The Town.
Yeah, I sure did.
How did you feel about that? I mean, it's about Boston, one of the biggest
it's
cities.
got a lot of townhouses, so I was a little enraged, but then there's so many guns in it.
Many.
It just brought me back.
The part with all the nuns with guns. Speaking of which,
with guns.
You must have saw Nuns on the Run as well.
Oh, are you kidding? I've seen virtually every nun movie. That is the one thing that got grandfathered in when I had to undertake this process.
Okay, so Sister Act 2, Back in the Habit.
Big time. I got that on constant repeat. Flying Nun, I know that's a television show.
What about Bed Knobs and Broomsticks? Speaking of flying things, yeah.
Yeah, Sound of Music.
Yeah, I mean, those Nazis have guns right there.
Yeah, what's that horror movie recently? La Llorona, or is that the one with the nun with the? I saw her on a bus stop thing, and then I had.
Yeah, is that part of the Conjuring verse?
I believe so. Yeah,
right. So maybe one of the only movies you haven't seen is that movie with the train coming towards camera, because there are no guns in that.
No, and I've never seen the one with the moon getting poked in the eye. I mean, I've seen it
with a rocket
because I know how to refer to it, and that's the whole movie. But I've never sat down to watch it.
Right. Okay. The one that Lumiere, is that who made that one? Or
yeah, I think you're right.
I saw that. What's that Martin Scorsese movie? Maybe you haven't seen it because I can't think of a gun in it. But Borat is in it.
I have not seen it because I go to the Internet Movie Gun Database.
Gun database?
Gun database.
Oh, gun.
And Nun database to check before I watch any movie.
Oh, I see. Yeah, Hugo has no guns. Although I believe the Borat train guard probably has a gun in a holster when he's chasing Hugo, but
I believe it's a nightstick.
Oh, it's a night. Oh, okay. So that was on the Internet Gun Database.
That was on the Internet Movie Nightstick Database.
Oh, okay. It said you may get tricked into thinking this is a gun, but it is not. It's a nightstick.
It's not enough to check about the guns. You got to check about nightsticks so you don't get double-crossed or tricked.
I wish you had seen it because I have an opinion on that movie, which was, I believe it's Scorsese's tribute to the cinema.
Ooh.
And I've never found anyone to back me up on that claim.
Have you ever found anyone to disagree?
No, because no one's seen it.
I don't agree. I don't think that's anything like what you said.
Do you know who Martin Scorsese is?
Hell no. Sounds like he's from Europe.
Well,
what are you just talking about?
Generationally, certainly from Italy.
Yeah. Lumiere, Scorsese. No, thank you.
But Wilcox, what kind of a name is that?
What kind of a question is that? Wilcox is a name of the West. It's a Western name.
Your ancestors, you know how most names were derived from whatever job someone had or, place in society. What do you think your ancestors did? Were they like LegalZoom, where life meets legal, where they made wills and living trusts? Or were they coxmen?
I can't believe what an ignorant question you're asking me. The name Wilcox is descended from people who would leave their cocks to their descendants in their wills.
How many cocks do you have?
Well, by now, I've accumulated dozens of hundreds of cocks from my ancestors, and they're in various forms. They're mounted. Some of them are mounted on the wall. Some of them are preserved they're pickled in a jar. And those are I have a whole separate house full of those.
This reminds me of another friend of mine who was leaving his cock in his will to Mitt Romney. I think we talked about him recently.
Oh, I know who you mean. Yeah.
We don't want to say
hot dog.
Yeah, we don't want to say the phrase that conjures him.
Oh, no, we don't. No, that would be a pain in the ass.
Candyman?
No, we don't want to raise the Candyman either.
Candyman.
No, it's not him. No, it's akin to the Candyman. Oh God, we've said it like
times.
Oh
shit.
Oh shit.
Oh, whose house is he at?
I'm not going to look behind me.
I thought it was the Andy Man.
Oh, so we're only at 4. Okay.
Oh, all right. But he could be in this. I'm not in my own house. I don't have the internet in my own ranch.
Where are you exactly?
Well, I have normally used the internet at my local library, but it's closed now for God knows what reason. So I've been having to, for the purposes of talking to people on podcasts, I've been having to break into the homes of people who have internet, and it's hard because so many of them are home now.
Dalton,
so what?
In all your monster hunting, have you ever come across a Candyman's?
I have, not that I'm aware of, but now you guys are making me very concerned about a Candyman. How do you know a Candyman when you see one?
Well, he's got a hook for a hand. He's covered in bees.
Yeah. I've seen a few of those.
Oh, okay. That's ringing a bell, that description?
Yeah. I've seen that. I've seen a few of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've seen a few of them.
What does candy have anything to do with the Candyman lore? Like, does he pass out candy or?
Yeah, he's got like 3 different parallel myths. I could never quite keep it straight. I forget what the candy thing.
Well, I mean, those are two totally separate, distinct accidents to have. One, having your hand cut off, and 2, having bees cover your entire body.
Yeah. I think he was a former slave that they poured honey on, and then the bees ate his head. And then I don't know how he got a hook for a hand.
I once saw a guy with a beard of bees.
A beard of bees, really? Where was this?
It was at a state fair. There was a fellow there with a beard of bees. And I figured that I don't know what kind of monster that is, but it's some kind of a one. And so I shot him with a silver bullet straight through the heart. And so now I understand. It sounds like I must have killed a Candyman that day.
Did all of the bees fly off of his beard after he was killed, or did you kill all of the bees individually as well?
What ended up happening was that he had an actual beard that he had just covered in something the bees cared about. And so after a while, they dispersed, and I grabbed as much of them as I could with my fists to try and squeeze them to death. Turns out, people don't know this, a bee has something in them. It can hurt your hand if you squeeze it real hard.
People actually do know that, Dalton, actually.
The beard of bees is one of after the 7 seals are opened and a white horse appears. But Dalton adds so many different layers to the story beyond just the horses. He has so many other things going on that weren't told about in the Revelation book. So I just have to keep writing it down and squeeze it into my New Testament.
Oh, so you're writing a newer testament? Will it be called the Newest Testament or the Newer Testament, or?
Well, it's like it's a little bit of a rewrite so that it's more fun and upbeat, but then actually says real life examples of it happening, like Beard of Bees.
I see. You know, that New Testament, at this point, it's 2,000 years old. Like,
It's so
old at this point. Plus, can we stop getting so upset about spoilers from the Bible? This thing is 2,000 years old. If you haven't read it by now, then, come on.
Yeah. Yes. That's exact. I mean, we all know that the 7 spiritual figures are the third woe.
Oh, come on. I did not know that.
When are you going to finally get around to reading it, Mutt?
I was paragraphs, or what do you call them?
Synopsises?
No, I guess paragraphs in the Bible goes paragraph, scripture, line, whatever.
Verses?
I was like 7 verses away from that.
Have you gotten to the part where the lamb stands on Mount Zion?
No,
It's
no,
like a
I was
lamb.
thinking he was not going to get up there.
Oh, it's so fun.
Oh, hell.
I'm sorry.
Speaking of
I shouldn't
verses,
have told you.
Mutt, you've seen Aliens versus Predator.
Oh, I've seen both of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Whoever
Requiem
wins, we
Man.
lose, definitely.
Oh, God, but we all win, because what a movie. What a couple of movies.
Because the Predator has a gun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Alien is defenseless and unarmed.
But voluptuous.
Certainly.
Especially that queen. Ooh, oh, boy.
I kind of feel like it's an unfair fight.
For whom?
Well, for the alien, because, I mean, give the alien a gun and then suddenly, like, we're on even ground, But, I mean...
And he could learn to fish.
Sure. Teach an alien to fish. You've taught one alien to fish.
You're right. Now, that Predator's got some kind of thermal heat vision, and I don't know what kind of temperatures them xenomorphs run at, but maybe he can't see them, so they could sneak up on him like an invisible man's.
Those xenomorphs, who designed them?
Oh, he's a guy named H.R. Giger, I believe. Yeah.
H.R. Giger, was he the guy who... Didn't he design the cover to Deborah Harry's first solo album?
And the microphone stand for the band Korn.
Okay, right. Interesting guy.
Real interesting.
Give a xenoform a fish and you've just destroyed your market base.
That's true.
Is that a spoiler?
No.
So are you, Amy, I have to ask you about your newest testament. Are you essentially just writing what happens after Revelation, after the rapture?
It's all of what Dalton tells me of his monsters, and it's just say, okay, then what happened? Because from what I understand, from what Dalton's told me, he is the fourth coming.
Wait, Dalton is the fourth coming?
Yeah.
Who's the third?
Yeah.
Who's the third? I thought he was the third.
The third was Michael Landon.
Well, who's the second?
Oh, no.
Oh no! You've messed it all up. It goes. We listed them earlier.
I'm sorry.
It goes JC himself, Michael Landon.
It goes Michael Landon. Then he's the third coming. Rule of three.
Yeah, the kicker.
Dick York, Dick Sargent.
Sure, they shared one.
Okay.
Dalton, do you have an opinion on that? I mean, like, obviously Amy is writing this newest testament that stars you, I guess.
Look, I'll be honest. I've been gone for the past few minutes.
Where'd you go?
Well, here's the thing. I'm in the garage of a house in my nearby me, and the family is
nearby you. You're in it. It's like the most nearby you can get.
I'm saying that this house. Well, right. No, I know what you mean, but nearby where I live.
I gotcha, journalism.
It's a long story. This thing has been real hard. I had to steal a computer from the last house I broke into, which luckily had a mummy in it, and I was able to kill him.
Oh, okay.
But I had to take his computer and hit the road, and now I'm in the garage of another house, and the family is in there, and they just came out here and was hassling me about, what are you doing in our garage and all that stuff. And so it was a real mess. But anyway, I'm back now. I just had to deal with that.
Oh,
How did were talking about?
How did you actually deal with it? Did you find out the family were a bunch of monsters as well?
It's funny you should say that, because I don't leap to any conclusions about anything ever in my life, but I was trying to talk some sense into them, just thinking, oh, these are regular people who live in a house and have some understandable concern about somebody being in their garage, but we can settle this.
And as they became increasingly unreasonable, I began to suspect that they was actually creatures from the Black Lagoon, the two of them, a husband and wife. So I just asked them.
And then they said, we're creature from the Black Lagoons?
Yep, they said they were creatures from, well, I assume they were probably from two different Black Lagoons than they met somewhere else.
I see.
But anyways, well, they didn't come right out and say the words, they never do. But I asked them, are you creatures from the Black Lagoon? And, they basically, not in so many words, but more or less confirmed it. And I had to, had to take care of them.
You can take the creature out of the lagoon, but you can't often take the lagoon out of the creature. Am I right?
Hey, Dalton.
Yeah.
What do you do when you come across a monster truck?
This has got to be a conundrum for you.
Well, it's extremely difficult. Believe it or not, the only way to kill a monster truck is to drown it. And I've been in that situation many times. Well, you can't shoot them, and a stake through the heart isn't going to work, so you got to neutralize the driver of the truck, which is usually some kind of a monster himself, and then you got to drive the truck into some kind of a body of water.
Would you ever drive a monster truck into a Black Lagoon? It seems like you'd be getting into a heap of trouble there.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I have had it to happen. There have been times where I have had to drive a monster truck into a Black Lagoon, and that's fine as long as you get out of there fast before
what
a
if you
creature can
drown
grab you and drag you.
A monster truck in Monster Energy drink?
Yeah. Well, I'm very concerned about Monster Energy drink. I have that GoFundMe. To go out and purchase up all the Monster Energy drink I can and destroy it, because we don't want to be giving monsters any more energy, my friend.
Right.
And that GoFundMe has a goal of several $1 million, and I haven't checked in with it in a while.
Oh, you really should. I mean, that seems like the kind of thing it seems like the kind of thing like daily, if not hourly, I would be checking in on to make sure, if there's $1 million on the line.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I forgot the website address name for GoFundMe.
You guys, GoFundMe.com.
Thank you, Amy.
You guys, my husband wants me to make him lunch. I have to go make my husband lunch. And but I do want to, I'm going to send you a sample of my dish towels that could clean up all the monsters you just destroyed. And they're Sloth and Envy are the two dish towels that I'm featuring on my website, Lot's Daughters, this week.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry you have to go, Amy. It's been a pleasure talking to you. We're just about done with the show, but your husband, it seems like he takes...
he loves this egg salad.
Oh. All right, Amy, thanks. It's so nice to meet you. Good luck with the show. But speaking of the show, we I promised we would talk about it. We would say what the format of Bananas for Bonanza is. What exactly is it, Dalton?
That doesn't take too long. What we do is we bring in a guest, and we talk about an episode of Bananas for Bonanza, and we show some clips of it. And
you talk about an episode of Bananas for Bonanza?
Hey, don't be a smartass.
You just said it.
No, I didn't. We talk about an episode of Bonanza.
All right, sir. You didn't.
Damn right. On Bananas for Bonanza. And we just talk about it for the full hour, and we show some clips from it, and we take a deep dive into each episode. And that's it. And there was going to be a whole bunch of other features of the podcast, but we don't have time for them, because we was going to do poetry contests, prank phone calls. We don't have time for any of it. We got our hands full analyzing an episode of Bonanza.
So you were going to do like a Jerky Boys, which, by the way, the Jerky Boys movie, Mutt, you've seen, obviously, because of the whole gangster subplot in it.
Oh, yeah.
Or a Crank Yankers type prank phone calls?
Well, you know what? In addition to Bananas for Bonanza, which is on Earwolf, also on Stitchers, we have bonus episodes. Bonanas bonus.
Bonusanza for Bonusanza?
Bananas for Bonanza bonus. Bonus Bananas for Bonanza.
Okay.
Is every other week on Stitchers coming out. And on that, we answer questions, Mutt and I do, from people, any kind of questions that they have.
And we're thinking about that's maybe where we're going to do our prank phone calls. And that would be, we'd be calling city slickers and asking them how to hog tie a cattle and fun stuff like that.
Okay, great. Well, this you describing this show actually leads me to realize that we are just about out of time, but we have one final feature on the show, which this is the perfect segue. It's time for something, a little something called plugs.
This is
Yeah.
This is
Hot damn.
This is a little something called
Plugs.
This is a little something called
Plugs.
All right, that was A Little Something by Bricks and Stone. Thank you to Bricks and Stone. All right, so obviously I would be remiss, and I'm certainly not under duress when I say that we should be plugging Bananas for Bonanza, which is out now wherever podcasts are obtained.
Yep. Wherever they cast them, you can find it. It's also available at B. Dalton under audiobooks. And
Are you related to B? Are you related to B. Dalton?
In as far as a man can be related to a store, yes, I believe I am.
Did you inherit a cock from B. Dalton?
Well, yes, I am in possession of B. Dalton's cock, and I didn't want to say that because I don't want people going crazy and coming over my house to get a look at it, but it is everything you've heard it is. But anyway, yeah, you got to listen to Bananas for Bonanza as well as the bonus Bananas for Bonanza episodes. As well as, by the way, I am featured on a new album called Four More Sweaters. Monsters Take Your Questions. That's a new album on a Special Thing Records, and I'm part of that album. People should buy that.
I see. And that four more sweaters that is currently out. People can stream it or buy it. Is that true?
I suppose so, and I'm sure it's available at B. Dalton's as well. You can take one stop there and pick up our podcast and that album. And my books, by the way.
Yeah. What are your books again?
Can you believe it? I haven't even plugged my books. Well, you must buy your wife at least as much jewelry as you buy your horse, and other poems and observations, humorous and otherwise, from a life on the range. And then there's the follow-up book, which hasn't been published yet.
By the way, you forgot by Dalton Wilcox.
By Dalton Wilcox, right.
Right.
Yep, I'll do it again. You must buy your wife at least as much jewelry as you buy your horse, and other poems and observations, humorous and otherwise, from a life on the range by Dalton Wilcox. And then the other book is you still have to buy your wife at least as much jewelry as you buy your horse, and additional poems and even more observations from a life still being lived on the range by Dalton Wilcox, who wrote the first book by Dalton Wilcox.
Couldn't you have just said still by Dalton Wilcox?
Well, it's not too late because that book has not yet been published, but I would encourage people to pre-order it on Amazon.
That's right.
And yeah, I suppose I could, but I think that's going to be a little too short if I just say that.
Okay. Mutt, do you have anything you want to plug here?
Yeah, me and the boys, Shunt, Cubby, Jimmy Blades, Tits Hanrahan, we're the Journeymen, and we got an album on Bandcamp. If you just search Journeyman or Super Ego, you'll find it there. And that fellow friend of mine, Matt Gourley's got a band called Townland. You can find out more, hear some things at Townland Band on Instagram. And then later this year, I'm running in the 2020 sex race in Denver, Colorado, so I'd appreciate some support. Come on down there.
Wait, you're running in it? Is this like a presidential race you're running in?
No, it's just a term how you run in a race. I'm competing in it.
You're competing. I see.
Yeah, really hopeful.
You got my vote, Mutt. Mutt, you got my vote, that's for sure.
I would imagine a lot of the contestants actually have to run to obtain the women or men that they eventually have sex with.
Especially since this year everyone's starting at least 6 feet apart.
That's true. I mean, 14 seconds is going to be really difficult to beat this year.
I suspect they'll handicap us all.
Okay, give you an extra 14?
No, take off a leg.
Oh, okay, no. All right, well, I of course, just want to plug the Between Two Ferns movie. That's on Netflix. If you're sitting around the house, you can watch that. You can watch every episode of the Comedy Bang Bang television show if you're in the United States, and I still don't know when that will ever go to Canada or anything like that, so I'm not in charge of those things. But all right, let's close up the old plug bag.
You start with a C when you want to close it up. You lead with an L and then you open up the plug bag. Open up the plug bag. Take your hands and open it up. Then Horatio comes and then he just says, open up the plug bag. Open up the plug bag. Everybody wants to open up the plug bag. Let's keep it fucking open up the plug. Open up the plug. Open up the plug. Open it up.
Guys, I want to certainly thank you so much for the opportunity to have you on this show. It means so much to me. Please, if there's karma exists, make sure that nothing ever happens to myself, my loved ones, my property. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Scott, if you would please tonight wear some kind of pajamas to bed, I would appreciate it.
That is where I draw the line. No deal. Sorry.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you guys. And good luck with Bananas for Bonanza, and we'll see you after another 428 episodes or so.
Okay, I love it.
Fantastic.
All right.
Thanks, man.
We'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.